I'm 39 now, so I guess I'm about 40, so I don't know if I can still use the young man thing, but I mean, I don't know, you know? I still feel young. I still feel like a young man. I still feel inside, like, in some ways, like a little boy trying to find my way through life. I want you to be strong, homie. You know what I'm saying? That's not good enough, player. You need to become stronger. So what are we gonna do? We're gonna go to the gym. We're gonna get on the mats. We're gonna go to the range. I'm gonna keep hammering on you. Why? Because I love you. And there's two kinds of guys in the Marine Corps. There's those guys that like we would hammer on them and they would be like, you're mean, I'm so why you guys do so mean? Because they didn't have the vision. You know, I remember going to all these churches all around the world, 50, 60 countries per year, going to all these churches, sometimes the same churches. And I remember seeing Christians and being like, you guys are powerless and you're emotional, and Christianity is just for weak people who can't face life head on and take responsibility and make things happen. And in a lot of cases, that's true. That's what religion is. You know, and I remember God telling me like, hey, homie, like, don't ever judge me on people. You know, don't ever judge me. Like, look around you, player. Don't ever judge the guy that created all this on people, bro. What good father gives his kids everything they want? Dude, I've been taking care of billionaires since I was 21 years old. And I've watched the struggles that they have with their families. And one of the main struggles that they have is trying to raise good kids while they're still ruling their world and their space and they're still on mission.
Blessed are the peacemakers, for they will be called sons of God.
So for the Man of Peace podcast, we're gonna do some things a little bit different. You know, it's gonna be a lot more about the journey, a lot more about, you know, what God's been doing with me and through me. And I'm gonna share with you guys a lot more of that stuff. You know, a lot more of the behind the scenes, a lot more of the real sources of power in my life and how my life works, you know. And I think with this podcast, a lot of what I want to do is exemplify those things to the best of my ability by the grace of God, right? And so as a young man, you know, I have my own kind of wounds that I've had to deal with, right? I'm 39 now, so I guess I'm about 40, so I don't know if I can still use the young man thing, but I mean, I don't know, you know? I still feel young. I still feel like a young man. I still feel inside, like, in some ways, like a little boy trying to find my way through life. You know, even though I protect, you know, some of the world's most powerful people. And I think there are a lot of men out there in the world that feel that way. You know, I even hear my dad sometimes. He's a made man, you know, extremely successful businessman, you know, has had a really full life. And he's like, I'm just a little island boy from the Bahamas, man. Just a little island boy, you know. And so, you know, I'm trying to find my way. And by the grace of God, I've been able to find that way. And in a lot of instances, in a lot of ways that I think are really valuable to any young man or young boy that is growing up in the game, you know, in the big game of life, son. And, you know, I know that the only way I found my way was is a dang miracle, you know, that I was able to even come this far and get this far. And I didn't know any of this was really even possible at all, you know. I just knew that I had a big dream in my heart, and I just really wanted to do some really valuable things in the world, and I didn't know how I was gonna do them. And when I started to dream, I was just a little chubby little mama's boy, you know, and a chubby little mama's boy looking for validation and guidance from my dad, and just looking for a way to not be a loser. And like, how the heck am I gonna ever be able to have a family, and how am I gonna ever be able to generate value in the world? And like, these are the equations I was facing. And I think it's pretty obvious and pretty common for any man to be facing the same equations in life, you know, and trying to find his way, you know. And so what's happened with me has been supernatural and miraculous. And, you know, that's why I have such a heart to share these things, because for me, man, like, freely things have been given to me, and so freely I give, right? And, you know, I'm a pretty tough guy, super tough actually, I will say that. I'm not so much talking about physically tough either. I mean, I am pretty physically tough, but mentally, emotionally, spiritually, energetically. Like, you know, I can take a lot, and most men can take a lot. There's a saying that says most men can handle adversity, but if you really want to see who someone is, give them power, right? And that's been pretty cool because I've been able to, you know, build some brands and have some influence and do my best not to let that poison me. But, you know, one thing God's been working with me on is, and there's a lesson in there. Him who has ears to hear all those things that I just said. But there's a lesson that God's been teaching me and showing me has been super interesting and super healing and super, I don't want to use necessarily the word therapeutic or cathartic, but it has been. It's been a revelation of who God has been to me and with me and through me. That's just been amazing. And I think it'd be super dope if I could share that with you guys, if you just got a minute to listen to this, this quick podcast. So it's been all about, you know, those first concerns that I was talking to you about, which is how am I going to be anything? But on this journey lately, this year specifically, he's been like, well, he said, I'm going to teach you how to be fearless. And I was like, man, pretty fearless. You know, I went to Iraq and, you know, I've chosen to go to war multiple times. I was forced into it twice after joining the Marine Corps during a time of war to go to war. But, you know, with this last mission we did in Haiti a little while back, I knew what I was getting myself into and I went because I believe he wanted me to go. But even more so than that, you know, this year he's put me in a position where I've not been strong enough to save myself in a lot of instances. And he's just, there have been situations for him to show himself strong. And it's been very difficult. I'd say it's been the hardest year of my life. Combat was easy compared to the mental and emotional stress associated with executing on the vision God's given you. And that's why most people don't do it. And that's why most people die long before they actually cease to exist on the planet. And so this year, he was just like, look, man, I'm gonna show you how to be fearless. And, you know, I've been really studying identity. There's a book called And Then David Perceived He Was King. Amazing book, man. Let me make sure you guys get the author and all that. I'm currently listening to it right now. I'm almost at the end of it. And David Perceived He Was King, Identity, The Key to Your Destiny by Dale S. Mast. Can you guys see this? With a picture of the statue of David on there. So, super awesome book if you're looking to develop as a man in your identity. Super important because understanding your identity, you can't outperform your identity. You can't outperform your self-concept in life. And so your relationships, your business, your momentum in life, your destiny, all of it's tied to your identity because you will never outperform who you believe you are. And the difference in people is that some people are on this journey to let God show them who they are, but you have to submit to him and you have to submit to his path. And you have to like go on this journey, and it's very painful. It's extremely painful because it requires many deaths of who you think you are. And so you'll have to die all these deaths. Sometimes they're ego deaths. Sometimes they're deaths of just parts of who you are, right? And so, you know, I have a master's in psychology, so we'll mix a little of that in there. So like when you have these self-concepts and or you've learned these tools for survival in your life, that may have kept you sane and kept you alive in different circumstances in your life and situations and things that you had to pass through. You needed to develop certain tools, you know, in order to be able to like handle that part of life without breaking. And, you know, I had to go through a lot of disappointment, and all of us have had to go through a lot of disappointment, you know. My mom was always hyper spiritual, always in the spiritual, so the physical suffered. And so growing up, we like really never had anything. My pastor had to like pay my tuition to go to my private school when I went to private school. Like I didn't have lunch money, and I had to like trust God that he would like, one of my friends would be gracious enough to give me something to eat, or I'd find something, or, you know what I mean? Like there were a lot of things that I had to just trust God on. And at a very young age, fortunately, the church I was at and the places I was, taught me how to have a relationship with Christ. And that was the determining factor for me. Otherwise, I'd have a lot of church wounds. The number one reason people don't come to Christ is because of wounds they've endured from the church, but they fail to realize that the church is a body of people. It's a body of people. And, I'll go crazy enough to tell you nobody knows church like how I know church, right? So growing up, I had to sit, my mom was hyper spiritual, I told you. So I had to sit there and watch 4 televangelists, right? Kind of the cheesy type, back when I was little, that's how we looked at them, I had to watch 4 televangelists before going to Christian school. First class was, church, and then we had Bible study, and then I had to go to church on Wednesday, Thursday, Saturday night was youth service because they didn't want you to do anything fun. Thursday was choir practice. 3 services on Sunday, and so there's so much church, but God was building a foundation in me of the Word, so I would know His Word myself, and through knowing His Word, His written Word, you can understand His heart. And this is the beginning of realizing that He is the perfect Father. Right? And so many of us, also the second reason people that don't come to Christ is because Christ will almost inevitably take the place of your father, right? He will almost inevitably be looked at in the same frame and lens of your father. And so the most common mistake and something Satan uses to keep people away from Christ is the concept of what a father is and fathership and fatherhood. And so I have these father wounds that I didn't realize I had because I've always been really good about forgiving and cleansing my heart. My dad was always too busy for me, and he still is to this day too busy for me. And I've always just been like, well, he's doing the best what he can. So, and I was like, he's, I forgive him. I'm not mad at him. I'm not going to hold it against him. He's building businesses and he's taking over the world and he's doing all these things and he's always been too busy for me. So, I'm not going to hold that against him. A man's got to go after what he's got to go after in this life, bro. You're going to be who you are in this world, And so I sit here and I'm like, bro, my father's always been too busy for me, but I got to be careful because then, I can mess around and think God's that way. And that's not the way He is. He's the most present father. He's the most intimate friend. When I went to the Marine Corps and broke away from my family life and my life in Washington and everything, there's only one person that's ever always been there for me, man. And we all been in some dark places, man. And, through boot camp, I remember just asking God for the strength, and I remember Him always being there to comfort me and being like, Father, you'd never give me more than I can bear. You'd never put more on me than I can bear. But the reality of that is you don't know what you can bear, homie. You don't got no idea what you're capable of, player. And what's one of the missions of the father, of any father, is to train you and teach you what it is you can bear. Teach you what his lineage can handle. Teach you what the blood inside you that's come from all your forefathers is really all about, and you don't know. So he's got to put you through it, man. We used to get new Marines, we beat the crap out of them. Why? Because we know what's coming, and that's a form of masculine love. So much of us get turned around because we're like, oh my gosh, why is life so hard? Why is life so hard? And I believe it's because God's training us to be little G's, what I'm saying? When you're here on assignment to invade this broken reality where Satan has dominion, he's called the prince of the power of the air, you're trying to bring the kingdom of heaven here now through your actions and all your things, you're going to get resistance, right? And so that resistance, though, is only there to serve you because all things work together for the good of those who love God and are called by His purpose. So when you start to look at life through the lens of this, and my father's got this massive, tremendous task of trying to make me a little G, right? Trying to make me a little God who's got lordship over your life. You know what I'm saying? You have stewardship, lordship, words are interchangeable, right? And so he's got this mission of trying to help you become like him. And how does that happen, bro? How do those Marines get ready for combat? They get freaking hammered on, homie. And if you don't have the right lens on that hammering that happens, you can start to develop wounds and pain, and your heart can become hard, and you can become bitter, and you can be like, how come this crappy stuff keeps happening to me? And you can miss the whole entire point that that's one of the most precious and powerful, may I reiterate, powerful love languages of God. I want you to be strong, homie. You know what I'm saying? That's not good enough, player. You need to become stronger. So what are we going to do? We're going to go to the gym. We're going to get on the mats. We're going to go to the range. I'm going to keep hammering on you. Why? Because I love you. And there's two kinds of guys in the Marine Corps. There's those guys that like we would hammer on them and they would be like, you're mean. I'm so why you guys do so mean? Because they didn't have the vision. They didn't realize what we're about to go into is going to be absolutely merciless, violent, aggressive combat, and nobody cares. And you can't get tired, bro. Like, you can't get tired, homie. You can't tap out. You can't quit. You can't say, I miss my mommy. You can't, your mommy ain't here, player. We're going to go against grown men in Mortal Kombat, and they're going to do everything they can to kill you. And if we're not hard on you here, we fail you as leaders. We fail you as big brothers. We fail you as warriors to make you into the Marine you need to be so that you can be of service, of use when we're all together in the meat grinder. And I have to depend on you. And I need to make you someone I can depend on. And this is the thing, bro. All these Christians, all these people out here want so much stuff, but are they dependable? Like, are you a Christian that God can depend on? Can he give you a mission? These cats be wanting these missions, bro. They be wanting like, yo, I want to be like David. I want to be like Jesus. I want to be like these cats. But can God depend on you? Can he depend on you to get up early in the morning? Can he depend on you to eat things that don't poison your body? The number one tool Satan uses against people is food. It's the first thing he came at Eve with, religion and food. If you do this, you'll be like God. You'll be good enough if you eat this fruit. You know what I'm saying? If you eat these fruitsuses. Well, and then if you eat this fruit, you'll be like, it's religion and food, boy. You better watch out for religion and food, homie. And so we get on these paths and we fail to realize that everything we're being faced with is this love language, that God's put us in this gymnasium of life to help us get better so we can be more like him and learn this lesson. He told me is like, I'm gonna teach you how to be fearless. And I was like, yo, I'm about that life. Let's go. I'm like David. I kill the lion, I kill the tiger, I kill the bear. I've been hit by 5 IEDs. I done gone to war. I got the balls to become an entrepreneur, knowing that I know nothing other than what you give me, and try to create jobs and try to create relationships and try to create brands. Like, you guys think you're hard. You know what I mean? Like my veterans, well, I remember the good old days back when we were in combat and everything was so, civilian life is boring. It's boring because you're being a bad steward with your time and attention, homie. You know what I'm saying? You want to pick up speed? You want to pick up game? Start trying to create a business. Try to give birth to something in real life. That's what separates the men from the boys. Anyone can create life. Anybody can impregnate someone. Anyone can have an idea, but can you cultivate that idea? Can you sustain that idea? Can you nourish that idea until it becomes strong enough and the roots go deep enough and then it can bear fruit that you can live off for the rest of your life? Can you take that child from that woman? Can you create that life? Men give life, man. And that's another big misconception. Everyone be talking about women are multipliers, amplifiers, sacred, holy, powerful, all their things. But you, homie, you're the one that gives life, and then you're the one that's going to cultivate that life into something that is sustainable, right? When you go from being a boy to a man, you go from being a dependent into being dependable, right? And then God can entrust you with a kingdom and a queen and princes and princesses, and a wise man leaves an inheritance for his children's children. This ain't no game, player, and you're going to need God to do it because you ain't smart enough, dog. I don't care how hard you are, bro. I don't care how smart you think you are. A lot of you guys are smarter than me. But the difference is being on the path and having the Holy Spirit, which gives you all the cheat codes and makes you a better man in the process. And so I've been getting through this next bit of what is the gymnasium of life and development, and God's been like, yo, I'm finna make you fearless, homie. And so he's given me these challenges, man, this last year that have shook me to my core, man. We're talking about not sleepless nights. I can sleep in the middle of combat kind of sleep, but like we're talking about concerns, man, and being like, Father, if you don't show up, I'm gonna die. If you don't show up, I'm going bankrupt. If you don't show up, we're not gonna make payroll. If you don't show up, this whole brand's over. If you don't show up, I'm gonna lose all this territory you give me. If you don't show up, and I'm talking now, you guys talking about month to month, I'm talking about week to week, player. Like, it's been game on, you know what I'm saying? And what he's been showing me how to do is use the spiritual world to bend and impact and manifest and invade the physical realm. And it's been freaking amazing, man. And here we're getting onto the ultimate lesson, which is that he's the best father, is that he's faithful. And even with all the victories he's given me, saving my life at age 5, saving my family's life at age 5 from an assassination attempt with my father, getting me through combat, telling me when to zig, when to zag, standing on top of 155 anti-tank shells that are ready to blow up, and him giving me the cheat code so I don't make the wrong step and I survive. You know what I'm saying? Getting blown up by 5 IEDs and then freaking having an out-of-body experience and praying to him for another chance, and he sends me back into my body. Like all these things that I got that other people haven't had the honor of getting through adversity to show me who he is and how faithful he is. Even with all that, I don't need faith to believe in God, man. He's just been real to me, you know what I'm saying? Because of the path. And that's one of the greatest gifts I've ever been given. I kind of wish everyone would have those gifts, but you know, it's like that moment with my man at the end of the Avengers movie with, you know, Thanos. Did you do it? Yes. What did it cost? Everything, right? So, you know, I kind of wish you guys could have that, but at the same time, you know, it comes at a price. But it's one of the most comforting things ever. But then you end up, what I've ended up at the end of this hardest year of my life is this realization, bro, which is this experience of being like, he's the best father. And so like, I developed a protection strategy that was like, yo, I've been disappointed a lot. And so I believe I have all this faith, but my faith can get tainted with doubt, right? My faith can get tainted with expecting bad things to happen because my path has always been hard. Dare I say, in a lot of cases, like if there's 10 guys getting given cards, I'll have the hardest cards, you know, generally. Like if there's 10 guys and there's a life and death situation, you know, even guys in charge of me, there's a life and death situation, my path has been that like everyone just looks at me. They're like, Byron, figure it out, help, like you're the guy. I'm like, I'm not even in charge. What do you mean I'm not the guy? He's the guy, bro. I'm here to help him make all of this. And everyone's like, nah, dude, we need you to do this. Like it's always kind of ends up that way. So I've always, you know, I realize I expect bad things to happen, and being a private security guy and building private security teams, it's my job to see bad things happen before they happen so I can mitigate those risk factors and deal with those vulnerabilities and all those different things. And so I've been looking at God the way I've been looking at my father and my mother, who disappointed me in many ways, because they're human, not because they're evil, right? And your parents have done the same thing to you too, if you're being honest. And I've realized that I've let that experience color what I expect from God. I had another experience where one of my first clients was one of the most prolific and well-known evangelical ministries in the world. And you know, I remember going to all these churches all around the world, 50, 60 countries per year, going to all these churches, sometimes the same churches. And I remember seeing Christians and being like, you guys are powerless and you're emotional, and Christianity is just for weak people who can't face life head on and take responsibility and make things happen. And in a lot of cases, that's true. That's what religion is. And I remember looking at God being like, if this is your people and this is really what this is about, like I want nothing to do with these people, man. I want nothing to do with Christianity. And, you know, combat strengthened my faith. Being around all the top churches in the world for 7 years was the hardest thing for my faith and my Christianity. So that was really interesting, you know. And I remember God telling me like, hey homie, like don't ever judge me on people, you know, don't ever judge me. Like look around you, player. Don't ever judge the guy that created all this on people, bro. You know what I'm saying? Don't ever judge something that's this wise and magnificent and amazing and gave us these bodies that have everything we need, that heal on their own, and, you know, like this universe and all the things that we have, you know, on people that are imperfect, that are all trying to find me and have no idea what they're doing and talking about. Don't do that, bro. You better than that. You know, and so I was like, ooh, okay. And then I've just realized again that I've been doing this in my walk with him because bad things happen and I'm just like, yeah, okay, whatever. And what it's done is it's caused me not to fight. It's caused me not to use my spiritual tools to impact reality. It's caused me to accept the things that Satan's done to stop me and block me and steal from me. It's caused me to like look at God through this lens that is beneath him and limit him and what he can do in my life. I mean, all the way up to like having an Amazon package arrive at the house the other day. I ordered something and I was going to a training and I was like, man, it looks like, you know, this thing's gonna arrive at 10 p.m. on the day that I'm supposed to be at the training. So I remember being like, oh, I'll probably go to the training, not have the thing I want, and then I'll come home, and when I get home, it'll be sitting there. Oh, it's just the way life is, you know. It'll arrive right after I need it, like everything else in life, and that's what I was like, you know. And then, you know, but I remember being like, Father, can you please just get this here in time for me? I know you can do it. Like, can you just help me? And he was like, I got you. And I couldn't believe it because I was so afraid of being disappointed. So I still kept my little mindset of doubt and being like, yeah, well, I'm fully prepared for it not to show up and for me to have to just do what I always have to do, which is figure it out myself and survive with less and have to fight through broken glass and dog crap to like get stuff done. I'll get it done regardless, but it's going to be hard because everything's always got to be freaking hard, you know? And I was listening to myself talk, and then I look out my office and I see, you know, a package show up, and I'm like, it's probably not the package. It's probably some stupid thing that my wife ordered. And then I walk outside and I see it looks like the package that I'm looking for, and I'm like, still probably not the package. It's probably being set up to be disappointed again, and it's probably some pencil sharpener or something that my daughter got for school. And I walk in and I pick up the package, and I'm like, this is addressed to me. It looks almost like it should be the package, but it's still probably some bull crap. You know, and then I open it, and there it is, staring at me. And then there's the Holy Spirit with me, and he's like, bruh. And the Bible says that a double-minded man should expect nothing. It says if you can't trust the Father, like, don't expect me to show up for you. God wants you to know who he is. He wants you to be intimate with him. He wants you to talk to him every day in your imperfection. He wants you to learn to trust him, and he wants to be seen accurately. You can't demonstrate who God is to other people if you can't see him accurately. You can't be a demonstration of God's glory. That's what the Bible calls us to be, is walking demonstrations of his glory. Man is the glory of God. Women is the glory of man. That's another podcast. I'm gonna let that sit there for a minute. But you can't be a demonstration of God's love and care and provision and protection if you don't see him that way, and if you're not experiencing him that way, and if you're not doing the things necessary to be intimate enough to recognize him when he shows up, and as he is showing up for you in that way, as we live in this miracle of a reality and these miracle of bodies and all these different things. And so the lesson I've been learning is that God's the best father. He's an amazing father. The amount of times he's come through for me over the course of my life, I may not have everything I want. What good father gives his kids everything they want? Dude, I've been taking care of billionaires since I was 21 years old. And I've watched the struggles that they have with their families. And one of the main struggles that they have is trying to raise good kids while they're still ruling their world and their space, and they're still on mission. And it's not impossible, but it is extremely difficult to raise a strong child. Like Joe Rogan said that quote, show me a good man who's the son of a good man. You know what I'm saying? When you have the money and ability to give your kid everything, and you normally do, because the wife is like, oh, give it to him, you know, and the kid's like, oh, give it to me. And like most men cave into those pressures, and they don't send their kids through the battering and the gymnasium of life designed to help build character, because character is only forged through adversity. And God's a good father. And so, no, I don't have everything I want. You want to know why? Because if he gave me everything I want, I would have failed. I would destroy my life. I was doing a simulation with myself the other day, like, hey, bro, whatever, right now you were in charge of the world and you had everything you wanted and could do everything you wanted. Do you think you'd lose your soul? And I was like, yeah, probably. You know, like, I mean, everything I wanted, like I could just walk around and just like, you know, like do whatever I wanted to do. Bro, I don't know if I can handle that. I've been watching people who have power like that their whole life. I'm not ignorant enough to think I'm that pure. I'm here by the grace of God, and God's prospering me as my soul prospers. What does this mean? Your soul is your mind, your will, and emotions. Your soul is this internal space that's being saved and sanctified by God and your relationship with him. As he shows himself to you as how amazing he is, you and your soul become more like him. But you got to be on that path, right? Your body gives you earth consciousness. I know I'm here sitting on this rock outside on this property because I'm physically here and my physical body knows this. My soul gives me self-consciousness. This is the conversation I have going on inside my head 24/7. Very important conversation, right? And the soul is what's being sanctified. As my soul evolves, God will prosper me, because then I'll be worthy. It'll be safe to prosper me. If he gives me the fruit before I have the root system, the fruit is gonna uproot the tree won't be able to stand. right? And then you have the Spirit of the Lord in you, and your spirit gives you God consciousness if you're born again. And in fact, you've gone through that dance. And so your body gives you earth consciousness, your soul gives you self-consciousness, your spirit gives you God consciousness. And the whole goal is to have your spirit influence your soul and save your soul, because your spirit is the Spirit of God in you. But most of us are listening to our bodies. We're trapped here, listening to our bodies and our souls, and social media and everything's attacking our mind, will, and emotions all the time, and our soul's trying to keep us on this horizontal plane. And so I just wanted to share this with you, that God is the perfect Father. He'll give you what you need, and He'll give you what you earn, especially when you're a son, which you are. And so the cheat code to life is getting close to Him and understanding what it is He's there to teach you. And many of the things you're going to have to learn will be difficult, because they're going to require deaths of these wounds that we have in order to go to the next level. And so now I'm faced with the responsibility of dealing with maladaptive behavior that come from my past, negatively adapted ideas, beliefs, and behaviors that come from a period of life where I developed them in order to not lose my freaking mind, right? My mom constantly disappointing me, being like, just super spiritual and not in reality, and being like, oh, we're gonna go to church all the time, and like, hey mom, here's this opportunity. Can I go with my friends? Oh no, God told me you can't do that. When really she's just afraid that she's just afraid of everything. It's like, oh mom, maybe you can work for this person and we can actually have some money. They said they'd like to talk to you. Oh, God told me not to do that. And blaming God for everything. Stop. She literally, and I love her, but didn't step into her calling and destiny in multiple ways and places because of fear masked by religion and God, right? And then my dad's over here super busy all the time. So constantly with my mom dealing with disappointment, being like, gosh, she's never going to do anything. She's just going to pray all the time. We're going to be poor forever. And then dealing with my dad, where I'm like, Dad, you're really cool and I really respect you and I love you. And like, can you spend some time with me? So I would go to the Bahamas during the summer. When I go to the Bahamas during the summer, I was there to spend time with my father, And it's the only time I get to spend time with my dad. And what would happen? I would go there in the summers, this little boy, and I'd be like, Dad, let's go bowling, or can we do something this year? Last year you didn't spend any time with me because you were working the whole time. Can we spend some time together? And he wouldn't. He would be working all the time. And I'd have to just go to the office and be by myself at his office all day and play with his employees because he just was too busy building his empire. And then the whole entire summer would go by and he would send me off to summer camps, and I would just be around the house. Eventually I got a little boat, and I would go spearfishing with myself, and dude, a 7-year-old on a boat on the ocean, jumping in the water, spearfishing, bro, I'm lucky to be here. That's a whole bunch more stories. And so, there's a lot of disappointment that I had to deal with in my heart. They gave me the type of heart that could endure ridiculous amounts of adversity, and made me an extremely resilient person, and probably served me quite well during my childhood. Now I have to let that go and trust God and be like, no, God's a good Father. He's not too busy for me. He will deliver me. He will show up when I need Him to show up. He is guiding me. This adversity that I'm being faced with right now is literally here to help me become as strong and as indestructible as He wants me to be. I'm going to become the person that He wants me to be, that I need to be to execute on the mission that He's got in front of me, because I'm going through this adversity in my business. It's teaching me how to do these processes right. It's teaching me how to bring in the right people. It's teaching me how to deal with people when they do this. It's teaching me how to build a brand. It's teaching me how to deal with haters. It's teaching me how to deal with loss. It's teaching me how to fight when there's no light at the end of the tunnel, and how to not back down, and how to believe Him for results that are going to change what I see when I open my eyes, because I'm the son of the God that created this whole entire universe, and He's not going to leave me. He's not going to forsake me. He's not going to let His name be shamed, because I represent Him in this planet, and I can actually trust Him. I got faith, but this is a little different. It's a little different. I got faith, man. He's always been there, but this is something a little different. I can rest in Him. I can wait on the Lord, and He will renew my strength, and I will mount up with wings as eagles. I will run and not grow weary. I will walk and not faint. I can walk through the valley of the shadow of death and fear no evil, for He is with me. His rod and His staff do comfort me. He prepares a table for me in the presence of my enemies. He anoints my head with oil. My cup runneth over. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I will dwell in the house of my Lord forever. Bible verse. And so I see here, and I'm like, bro, I thought I knew God, and I've always been thankful to him. I've always kept the right heart. But I think the biggest lesson I'm learning in that book, and then David Perceives He's King is a great book to drive this home if you're on this path too. It's been amazing to really realize that God is a perfect Father. He's given me just as much as I've needed it. He's given me just the amount of adversity that I could handle as I've needed it to show me how I can trust in him and how I can. Bro, when you know you have God on your side, you're unstoppable, man. And that's what this whole entire game's about. He doesn't want religion, he wants relationship, he wants intimacy. He wants you to know who walks with you. And he wants you to know who you are as his son. And that's what this game's all about, homie. Blessed are the peacemakers, for they will be called sons of God. And that's what the Man of Peace podcast is really all about. That's what this podcast is really all about. The journey of realizing and owning the identity of sonship in Christ. So I believe he wanted me to say to you today, I love you guys. Let's go forth and be men of peace. I'll see y'all on the next episode. Boom! Quick shout out to our sponsor, Staccato. My first pistol sponsor. I've been sponsored by a lot of companies, right, over the years. But when it comes to pistol, that's my bread and butter. Pistol is something I believe in. I'm a competitive shooter. We're shooting anywhere from, 800 rounds a month type of thing, right? So Staccato, being what I believe, is one of, if not the most complete handguns you can put in your hand. It's got every component that a handgun could have, should have. They're actually extremely dependable now that they've made some changes, and these things are straight up tack drivers. If you're looking for a pistol that will do as much of the work for you as a piece of hardware can, obviously you have to have the marksmanship and all the different things, but different guns perform at different levels. And I want to say that Staccato is one of, by far, for sure, take it from a competitive shooter, we're shooting the highest volumes of rounds constantly right now. Not used to have a background guy, but like right now, when you go shoot, you're gonna see certain brands. Staccato is one of, if not the highest performing firearm that is both CCW, duty ready, and also competitive ready. So I want to give them a shout out. If you guys are looking for a good handgun to build your skills on top of, go check out Staccato. Much love and respect. Boom. When it comes to the technology you use to protect your home, there's nothing better than Deep Sentinel. AI-driven, human-monitored technology that will keep you and your family safe for the same price you're paying for whatever Ring doorbell system you have. Check out Deep Sentinel. It's such an honor to join forces with these guys. They should be in every single house in the world. Get real-time Overwatch for you and your loved ones. And for 10% off, depending on when you're watching this, don't forget to use code Byron at checkout.
Blessed are the peacemakers, for they will be called sons of God.